Yo, 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 salute everybody. How's everybody doing? Here with your boy, Simeon Russell of the esteemed Nothing But Knicks, and we're here to
What's
talk to you
poppin',
about
bro?
some sports news. How you feeling, Sim?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. How about you?
Feeling good, man. Just busy. So I apologize. Probably could have held this
Simeon
earlier
Russell of
yesterday.
the
Oh
esteemed
crap!
Nothing But Knicks, and we're
Something's
here to
playing.
talk to you about
Sorry about that, guys. That's the other sportscasts are running. Oh Lord, now things are happening with the stream. Apologies, things are going haywire. All right, yes, let's get to it. Obviously, the finals, game four of the finals, exciting game yesterday, but unfortunately, or fortunately, whoever you're a fan of, I'm not rooting for the Lakers, but unfortunately, the Heat couldn't pull it out. Bam returned yesterday. These guys in the first half, it seems like Butler was on. This guy was what 7 for 8, I believe, in the first half or whatever it
Right.
was. Shot fairly efficiently, but unfortunately, he just couldn't hold it together. This is going to be do or die going forward, obviously, for the Heat. This series could have easily been 2-2. I mean, as good as the Lakers have been in spurts in that second half. I mean, they were shooting like 45% from three, 44 or something like that percent from the field, even higher. And then in the first half and the second half, they kind of did not look good until the end where AD hit that big three. KCP hit the big three to bring it up from 2-point lead to a 5-point lead from the assist from LeBron James on the fast break. How are your thoughts so far on this finals?
I mean, I thought it was going to be a tight series. I gave it to the Lakers in 7. I thought it was going to be closer. After I watched the first game, I kind of felt like the Heat were outmatched. After I seen the first game, and not just because the Lakers blew them out, I just felt like the Lakers had size, but they could still defend the Heat, even with. I mean, Anthony Davis is, they got him sometimes guarding Jimmy Butler, and he can do it well. You know, um, I just feel like the Lakers have too much size, and with their size, they can still go small. It's hard for me to see that the Heat are going to be able to compete. And when I look at the players' faces, going back to the locker room last night, I can see it in their face that they don't. To me, at least, I don't think that they feel like they can win this series with what they have. Obviously, they're down 3-1 now, but I can see it in them where I'm like, I'm not sure if they think they can really do it.
I think the opposite, man. I think there is. I don't know what it is. When I watch Jimmy Butler now, I think he's a little. Now, the smart thing Lakers did was switch AD onto to Butler, right? Because they saw how. I mean, the guy had 40 points in Game 3 without 1 3 being shot. He was abusing Danny Green. You know what I mean? Like everybody was talking about how good defender. Danny Green's not that great of a defender anymore, at least, because he was getting abused. Just as much as everybody tried to take a shot at Duncan Robinson, you saw LeBron James. Switch purposely to get on Duncan Robinson. They were doing that to Danny Green. And I think, as odd as it sounds, people will kill me for this. And it showed in the fourth quarter last night. The Heat were better off with their big man being Kelly Olynyk to be able to hit from the perimeter. Now, don't get me wrong. Bam Adebayo had spurts yesterday. Like when he by LeBron James for the putback, there were spurts, but he got into foul trouble fairly early. He didn't look 100%. And Kelly Olynyk, at least in game 2, he was okay, even though he took some bad threes at the end. But game 3, he looked excellent. A big man who could shoot. Because, again, they're trying to overplay Duncan Robinson. Because they know Duncan Robinson, once he gets into a groove, once he gets his confidence up on the perimeter, he could give you 30 points easily. And
Right.
they've seen it all series. KCP, Rondo, all these guys I hound. They even found other guys just to get to Duncan Robinson. I think that if you could add another dimension, because Crowder's been hit or miss for some reason. He was solid until, I guess, freaking this series. If you get another big man to space out that floor, as weird as it sounds, yes, the Lakers play good perimeter defense, but I think that they focus more so on Ty Hero, more so on Duncan Robinson. Kelly Olynyk, if you get another game 3 performance from him and play adequate enough defense, I'm just saying it's game by game. So to me, I know they look pissed. The Heat look pissed. And this is me talking crazy, but again, these past 2 games, obviously the Lakers won 1, the Heat won 1. I just don't see this uber dominance by the Lakers, especially by LeBron James. Now, AD can go off, but game 3 he only had 15 points, 6 for 9, efficient, obviously, but only 15 points. And what they're doing is trying to get the ball out of his hands. So their other playmakers have to make shots. Kyle Kuzma went off yesterday. How many shots he hit contested in the corner? You know what I mean? KCP went off. So again, I mean, it's a roll of the dice because look, would you rather get killed by the known or the unknown, right? AD is a known. I don't want him to kill me because once he started getting the foul trouble, the ticky-tack fouls, he's going to be at the line. Now he slows out the game, and now he has 30-something by the third quarter. But KCP, Kuzma, and the other guys can miss these shots. I'd rather those guys kill me than AD. It's a throw of the dice. You're kind of screwed anyway. But we've seen once you lock down AD, everybody likes saying LeBron James MVP. LeBron James had 20-some points in game 3 or whatever. I think he almost got closer to one of those LeBron-ish type of triple-double-ish type of nights. AD only had 15 points. And I think Kuzma and someone else went off. AD again only had 15 points and the Heat won. That goes to show you something. That even when all these other players are doing well, AD is the true.
I mean, I get that, but can they do that consistently? I don't think they can stop him consistently. Yeah, I mean, they did. You know, it happened in one game, and also they had to stop AD, and Jimmy Butler had to have a super game.
That's true. That's true. Jimmy Butler did have a stupid game, man.
So I don't know if they can do both of those. If that's the recipe. If that's the recipe, I'm not sure they can do both of those 3 more times.
All right, if they miraculously win game 5, do you give them a chance to do that? I know you said it's game 7 Lakers, right?
Yeah, I said game 7.
I know we're going to take it game by game, but are you ready to change your money? Well, you didn't not gonna change your money. I still think you say Lakers 7, but are you at least think you're going to be not able, but willing to change your mindset to think maybe there's a chance? If they win game 5, with Bam, who's probably not going to play, Dragic, who, I mean, this dude was almost crying because he couldn't get on the court. You know what I mean? They're impaired right now, but if they can win a game 5.
I mean, if they can win a game 5, they got to go win game 6. Anything can happen in game 7, but I think it's gonna be too tough, man, to win 3 straight against this team. I don't think they can do it. I
was ready to call Tyler Hero my son after yesterday. I was like, yo, if he wins, because they were down by 2. And that 3 by KCP killed it. LeBron James in the fast break. And that was after I think the Heat had like a bad possession. One thing I don't like, they played Iguodala less than – I thought Iguodala was good on the floor, even though there were 2 times he could have shot the ball. He shot away. But I thought that using him as a zone breaker and the fact that Crowder wasn't on yesterday, I think that killed him. Because one thing about the Lakers, once they overcommit on double teaming you, there's a lot of weak spots on the floor where you could slip in. I thought Iguodala he did basically what Bam was doing when he was healthy, you know, outside of last night's game where he was split.
I think Jimmy Butler has to just go do it, man. Like, I'm watching last night, and so many times he's in the lane at the basket. He could have pulled up a little jump shot or whatever, and he's looking for Tyler Hero or someone else to get a shot. He's just got to go do it. He dropped 40 and they won. You know what I'm saying? If they're gonna put AD on him at times, go at him, make him work. If that's gonna be the recipe where Jimmy Butler has to score and AD, maybe you hold them down. Then if they're gonna put Anthony Davis, there you go, right there. If they're gonna put Anthony Davis on Jimmy Butler, go at him every time, make him work defensively, make his legs tired, whatever it is, make him have to work, and then maybe you neutralize him a little bit on the offensive side because his legs are tired or he's working so hard on defense against Jimmy Butler. But Butler has to, stop being so gratuitous and just go ahead and do it. Be a star. This is the time when you got to do it, right? Just go ahead and be a star. He
shy away late last game, and I would say this one thing: even though AD he's a freak of a human, but he is giving space for Jimmy Butler to shoot the 3. And I believe Jimmy Butler only had like 1 3 last night, if I remember. At least 1 attempt, excuse me. I don't even think he made it because I was counting last time. I'm like, yeah, this dude is not being the uber aggressive because they was slacking off of Jimmy Butler to make him shoot that 3. So Jimmy Butler last night shot Well, he had 3 3-point attempts. I don't remember the other two, but I just remember one. He went 8 for 17 for 22 points. Yeah, he has to. As crazy as it sounds, he does have to step up. Because I mean, even if he put half of that 40, I mean that's 9 extra points. That's the game right there. I mean, Crowder, even though Crowder was +2 on the floor, he was 2 for 7 from the 3-point line. He was not cooking. Duncan Robinson, I thought they misplayed Iguodala. They should have played Iguodala more. I didn't understand why after the first half they didn't put it back in. I thought he did a decent job on AD, harass him in the post. Again, you gotta to get AD out of his comfort zone, you gotta harass him from the post. Now, obviously, you can make threes and stuff, but he's hesitant to shoot threes. But in terms of once you allow him that little spin move, or allow him to get that little step into on the baseline to hit that little mid range, he's a freak. I think the thing they need to start doing more is that if AD is going to be on Jimmy Butler, you got to get their so-called archers, right? Their 3-point perimeter demons off the court with foul trouble. Got to get KCP in foul trouble, which means more posting up. You can't do it with Ty Hero, but if Jimmy Butler gets stuck on them, Iguodala gets stuck on them, some of these other vets who can post up players, get the mismatch. AD's out on Butler. Let him stay out there and post up these guys and get them in foul trouble. Game 3, they were getting guys in foul trouble. Can't play the minutes. You can make those big runs, and you could try to keep those runs, and then you get guys. You can exploit guys and get Duncan Robinson the shots. Get Tyler Hero in motion. Even though Tyler Hero, I'll give him credit, he's been fairly aggressive. You know, what I mean, Duncan Robinson kind of shies here and there, and even though he had a good game yesterday, but Tyler Hero's been holding that team down. So I'm impressed by, as much as I don't like the Lakers, I'm ridiculously impressed by their defense. They're throwing so many adaptations to their defense. Guys, I know MIG's in here. I know your son Noel. He's a young up and coming basketball head. I'll say this: basketball maybe not as good as what we've seen before, but if you could show him these games to break down the defensive modifications the Lakers are making, how they use the double teams, how they set up the zones. That is, as Sim will probably tell you, I'm not a coach, but I know good coaching when I see it with some of these guys. I've seen such bad basketball for so long. This is really good defensive coaching, man. I have not been impressed by defensive coaching. Obviously, these guys have 80. Obviously, even though LeBron James is not a plus defender, even when LeBron James and 80 aren't there, guys like Kuzma, guys like KCP, Rondo, the way they set up those double teams to get guys when they're in the corner to trap them, and they've been doing this all playoffs. The way they've been using, even on offense, when AD and LeBron aren't there, I've seen them use Rondo as a zone breaker. Think about that. Whenever, Sim, you probably can test this. Whenever you have a 2-3 zone, right, you usually use a big man to kind of be the zone break at the foul line. He catches the ball from the pass up top, sees around, passes the perimeter, or drives to the basket. The fact that they were using Rondo there and then using AD near the box, I thought it was interesting because actually Rondo's not a good free throw shooter. But they realized that the Blazers, the Heat were playing so high up top. If they just dumped to the Rondo, now you have a 2-on-1 situation with you and AD. Now, Rondo can go up and throw the flow, which he's done. And if you want to overplay him, he has that foresight or the awareness to get it to AD. So I'm just saying, this is some of the best defense I've seen in a long time in terms of playoff basketball, like team defense, team concept defense.
Yeah, I mean, and Rondo, he's just an unsung hero, man. With in this series, I mean, it's been all playoff long, but just the knowledge that he brings to the game, he's has such a high basketball IQ, and when LeBron isn't in and he's in, and he can run the show, you still got that same level of basketball IQ out there on the floor, to get it done. And he's just impressive. He does, his numbers aren't gaudy or nothing like that, but he's just impressive. He can do it offensively and defensively. He may not score a whole bunch of points, but he can put people in the right position to score points. Defensively, no matter what kind of scheme the Lakers do, he knows how to do it and can bark out instructions and make sure people are in the right spots and getting it done. I mean, basically the entire team, most of the players that's on the floor have good basketball IQ. So, yeah, I mean, defensively, that was my one thing with the Heat. I wasn't sure. I know that they have a lot of ways that they can score, but they hadn't, in my opinion, ran up against a defense like the Lakers. In the playoffs, they hadn't ran up against a defense that could adjust, a defense that could play big, that could play small. that has so many different actions that they can use on the defensive side, or schemes that they can use on the defensive side because of the type of players that they have. And I wasn't sure if they were going to have guys, because they play a team type of offense. And I wasn't sure if they were going to have guys that can break down the defense when necessary. Jimmy Butler is that guy. He's just got to do it. He's got to do it. I know he wants to find his teammates and this and that. But I think just a little bit more selfishness from Jimmy Butler at this point would go a long way for the Heat.
I can see that. I can see Jimmy Butler going on demon time, man. Like, he has to, man, because this is it. Unfortunately, this is it.
This is it. And the Lakers, I don't see the Lakers being one of those teams that go to sleep. Yeah, I don't see them being one of those teams that go to sleep. I think, they got enough guys on the team that's been there where they gonna know, hey, don't go to sleep on it. Let's get it done. That don't mean Miami can't win the next game, but I don't think the Lakers are going to sleep.
So he's trying to hedge his bet. He's trying to say, look, if Miami wins Game 5, they're most likely not going to win Game 6 or 7.
They're not going to win Game 6.
He's hedging his bets now because he knows deep in his heart Butler. And again, guys, Butler's playing on a bad ankle. No one's talking about. He's still playing. He's out there now. He's not hobbling as much, but he's still moving okay. But he's playing on a bad ankles. Don't heal up like that. So,
right.
I give him a lot of credit.
I think if Miami wins Game 5, I don't see him winning Game 6. As a matter of fact, I think they could get blown out in one of these games, man.
Oh man!
What I started to see during the end of the game, guys getting to the basket without a defender there. Rondo getting to the basket without a defender there. KCP getting to the basket without a defender there. And I'm like, yo, what's happened? What happened? Where's the help? Well, where's this team defense that he had all season long and all playoffs long? And it started to make me feel like the Lakers found a way to really pick that defense apart. So I don't know.
I'm not giving up. Screw this, man. I'm not giving up, man. I'm going on my sword, man. I need them to beat the Lakers. I'm tired of hearing little clips on YouTube of Kendrick, idiotic Perkins talking about the beat. But I've never seen, and I'm not going to go too much on them, but I've never, when Jordan was playing, thank God we didn't have the media wasn't as bad as it was because, people recognize how great, but the fact that these guys are trying to hype this up as like the hardest finals to win, this is going to solidify him as this and that, is like, dogs, like LeBron, he's playing on a, say what you want, he's still playing on a fairly talented team. I mean, you have AD, you have guys like Kuzma, you have a healthy Rondo. Remember, Rondo never really fell off in terms of being a top facilitator and a good defender. It was just he was never healthy. He was just starting to get hurt here and there. So, because I actually when Rondo was on that year he spent with the Pelicans, I was like the Knicks should pick him up. But I think he picked up like an injury or something. I was like, Then he went to the Lakers. Like, all right, he's probably just gonna, it's one of those contracts he just plays out the rest of his career. Look at him now. He took the LeBron James juice allegedly before I get in trouble, and now he's healthy. So. Rondo, damn it, man. LeBron James is playing with a stacked team. So I just don't want to hear from ESPN about how great LeBron. It's like, dude, AD again. LeBron James went all, or he had a good game, Game 3, and AD was the X factor in terms of he makes everything run. If AD is doing well, now you have to overcompensate for AD, and now you can't defend the KCP correctly. You can't defend the Danny Green correctly. You can't even defend. Well, J.R. Smith has been playing 2 games, but even if J.R. Smith is in any of the guys, Kuzma, for instance, now Kuzma is looking like Dumas from the Suns that one year when they went to the finals, and that guy Richard Dumas was like killing for like one series, and he kind of fell off.
Right.
And it's like, what else? I mean, Kuzma had Spurs last year too, but I don't know, man. I'm rooting for the Heat, man. I have to, man. But speaking on Butler, there was another article in Clutch Points about Jimmy Butler and the Knicks, and they said that the idiots, Steve Mills and Scott Perry, that the Knicks' old management didn't appreciate Butler's leadership style. And according to Mark Berman, I guess they're talking about Thibodeau coming to, if he was on the Knicks, he would have gotten Butler here. He said when Butler was a free agent in 2019, and Knicks past management wasn't interested in Butler's leadership and defense. Thibodeau, as a former president and coach of the Timberwolves, traded for Butler in 2017, but it backfired. As it happened, Butler's hard-nosed approach wasn't accepted by Minnesota's ownership management or the young players. Butler asked to be traded, and Thibodeau was soon out of a job. Butler didn't like some of the guys like professionalism. One NBA source told the Post, Jimmy and Tom had long talks about how to deal with it. When Butler realized it was insolvable, he lashed out the organization. His clock was ticking on his prime, and didn't want to waste it and force his way out. Tommy was telling him to have patience to see it through. Do you think that if Jimmy Butler – now, I've said it before on your show where I felt that Jimmy Butler was – I love Jimmy Butler's playing style, but it wouldn't have meshed with that Knicks team and the ownership. And I guess I was right in guessing that the ownership didn't like it. But how do you feel a Jimmy Butler with R.J. Barrett, a Julius Randle, Frank Ntilikina, DSJ, a lot of young impressionable guys and some veteran guys, Elfrid Payton, who's that shooter? Wayne Ellington. How do you think Jimmy Butler would have fit with that Knicks? Is that a playoff team that sneaks in on the East?
I mean, it may be, adding Jimmy Butler there, maybe it could have been a playoff team, 8th seed, I think. Would it have fit well? I don't know. Look, in that free agency for the Knicks, the biggest thing that not just fans, but, analysts and all these people is don't throw max contracts at a second-tier player. And at that point, everyone mentioned Jimmy Butler as a second-tier player.
Yeah.
If Knicks would have threw a max contract at Jimmy Butler, who was considered a second-tier player, then they would have been crushed in the media for that as well, right? Oh, you just did it because you didn't get KD, you didn't get Kyrie, so you threw money at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's a second-tier star, not a first-tier star. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, obviously, you can Monday morning, not you, but, people can, Mark Berman, whoever can Monday morning quarterback all they want, right? But at that time, if the Knicks would have thrown whatever max deal was for Jimmy Butler at him and signed him, they would have caught flack for it.
Yeah, and I still stick by it. I mean, look at that Heat team. And I said it yesterday during the when I was doing the play-by-play analysis of the game. I said, look, Jimmy Butler is but he went into the perfect situation. Now, there are guys that you see are superstars, right? That if 80 goes to any team, he go on a G League team and make him a playoff team, right? There's certain players who Kawhi Leonard when he's healthy or wants to play could do that. LeBron James. Jimmy Butler, and I agree, at the time he seemed by himself in isolation, and given that Jimmy Butler had a talented team in Minnesota, but ownership, GM, coaching, there was just too many mismatches, right? Jimmy Butler is the perfect puzzle for that team, right? A bunch of young, talented, but fairly young and unproven players, and they're all playing to their strengths because the hierarchy, right? The owner, Riley, Spoelstra, Butler, all have one voice, and all these players play under them. So everybody, there's a plus multiplier. That's why if Jimmy Butler's not on the floor, that team is not a playoff team. They're getting wiped out by 27, 30, 40, whatever it is. Jimmy Butler inspires guys. They all play. And again, if you have a system where Riley's going around with freaking those little love handle tools or whatever he's going around to make sure you're not fat. I mean, and then Jimmy Butler has in his mind say, hey, I play hard as a meritocracy. You play hard. The real Fizdale saying, hey, you eat what you kill, whatever. Jimmy Butler and that team, they live by that. So, I agree with you. This Monday morning quarterback where it's like, oh, yeah, if you can't – it's like, yeah, but if he came to the Knicks, first of all, you're playing with – when you look at that Heat team, tell me how many veterans, free agent veterans really have like that voice where they're coming in as different from how they play. Even Iguodala's played that way all his career. Play hard, exert yourself on defense, rush out, commitment on rebounding, all that stuff. All these guys, they all play the same way. Kelly Olynyk had to change his game to be more of an outside shooter. He's not this guy down the post. He's following the system. So I don't like the fact that, and of course, when it comes to the Knicks, you got to kill the Knicks because, if the Knicks didn't get this guy, despite the fact that everybody passed on him. I mean, the Sixers let him go. The Timberwolves could have said, hey, one of your free agents got to go. Because now, whose Mark was here talking about, oh, it wasn't Wiggins, it was Cat. And then Wiggins came out, I believe, a few weeks ago on Twitter, whatever, or Instagram, put emojis that basically say It wasn't me that said it. You know, I liked him there. So obviously there was something that was wrong with the players, and it would never worked. So
right. And
1,000%.
you know, when you look at the Heat, like you said, the culture is just there. You got Udonis Haslem, who's played his entire career with the Heat, and he's no longer getting playing time, but he doesn't want to go to another team. He doesn't care if they're winning or losing. He wants to continue to build that culture there, right? And be part of the Miami communities from Miami and all of that. Okay. But I mean, he's a walking depiction of what Miami Heat stands for, right? And the kind of culture that they have there. So, you know, Jimmy Butler fits right in. You talk about that team with the Knicks. I'm going to start with David Fizdale. Jimmy Butler, I think, would have ran over David Fizdale easy, right? Marcus Morris wouldn't have been there because you would have had to pay Jimmy Butler. Julius Randle, depending on the money, I don't know. I don't know how it would have fit. Maybe he would have been there still. Bobby Portis probably wouldn't have been there because they paid him $15 million. So that team would have been a little bit different than what we see now. Maybe Julius Randle might have been there. Jimmy Butler, probably not Bobby Portis. He got $15 million. I don't know about Elfrid Payton. He got $10 million. Taj Gibson, he got $10 million. Wayne Ellington got $10 million. So some of those guys probably wouldn't have been there because you would have had to pay Jimmy Butler, right? And I just don't think the leadership, like you said, the synergy from ownership to your general manager to your coach was there. Now you look at this group now, you know, you got basically the same players. Some players aren't going to be here. But when you look at the leadership, it's a little bit different now because I think there is synergy with Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau, right? And then Jimmy Butler is a Tom Thibodeau type of guy, so it may have worked. It may have worked with this group a little bit differently than with last year's group.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. And to that point, there's another article in Clutch Points by Tom Thibodeau who actually said that he wants to incorporate some of those fundamentals by the Heat, and I love that. I didn't hear this before, but I love this coming to hearing about this now. It's coming to my ears. I'm loving it. So, like he says about Pat Riley, who people in New York have a love-hate relationship. I still love Pat Riley, man. I know all that stuff. We should have given him an ownership piece, let him build whatever. Pat Riley to me is one of the greatest execs in all of sports. He gets underlooked, I believe, but. He says, look, talking about Pat Riley, says he's on the top of my list. He's been great to me over the years. I've taken a lot of things that he said to me. I've watched the organization very closely. You understand what their core values are. And he says, when he says, believes many Knicks are quite familiar with the same culture, with Riley calling the shots 91, 95. And he says, the things that the Heat believe in have stood the test of time. Fundamentals, intensity, their work ethic. Those are all Pat Riley trademarks. I know Knicks fans are familiar with that. For when Pat was here. And looking at this team now, he said glowing things about Randle. I know people can kill him. I'm not killing Julius Randle. I'm just saying there are players on this.
But before you even get there though,
go ahead.
Just so people know, that whole culture that the Heat had started with the Knicks. So
Pat
Riley had a different culture. He had a different culture with the Lakers, right? They were running gun showtime. That whole work hard, tough defense type of culture he started it. Pat Riley started it with the Knicks.
Yes, he did.
And then of course it got passed down to Jeff Van Gundy. Tom Thibodeau was there with that Jeff Van Gundy, the whole Jeff Van Gundy crew. So he's got parts of it.
So but okay, fair enough. So it is embedded in New York, and I feel like us fans, we love that. That's why we loved Marcus Morris, right? Tough, hard nose. Obviously, he was scoring out of his mind. But even if you dip his numbers a little bit, we love the attitude he brought on. Now, obviously, when he hit Crowder, when him and Payton try to beat up on Crowder, I was like, all right, that's a little dirty. But what can Tom Thibodeau? What are the steps Tom Thibodeau has to do, right? Because obviously, Pat Riley, there's some cachet there, right? He won championships. When you win championships like that with two different, he didn't win it with the Knicks, but he got to a fairly high level. Won it with the Lakers. You come with a certain cachet about yourself. Now, Pat Riley's been with the Heat for, you can call it, I want to say, you call it a basketball eternity. What does Tom Thibodeau have to do? Now, obviously, he's not going to become the GM. He's not going to have that cachet of picking his own plays. But what does Tom Thibodeau let's just say Tom Hiddle and this whole front office. What do they have to do to replicate the success the Heat have had over these years?
I think you got to start with that one player. You got to have that one player, not star player, but just that one player that represents it. That's going to hold everybody accountable in the locker room, on the floor, practice. I think that goes a long way because, like I said, with the Heat, you got Udonis Haslem, and people may look at it and say you're talking about Udonis Haslem, but he's been there through everything, so he knows what the Heat represent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's able to, you know, Jimmy Butler probably already has it in him, but any parts of the culture that Jimmy Butler doesn't know, he can say, hey, this is what we like to do. And then Jimmy Butler comes in and knows he has somebody there that all the players probably feel the same way and have that those same characteristics about it. But you got a guy like Udonis Haslem who's been there, who can everything that Spoelstra wants to say. I mean, you've seen Udonis Haslem run the freaking
timeouts, yes.
Timeouts, right? Anything that Spoelstra wants to say, Udonis Haslem already knows, and everyone's going to respect Udonis Haslem. So when Spoelstra's not in the locker room, they're having a team meeting, he's spewing the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? I think you got to find that player, you know, that's going to be your mouthpiece, because, you know, the coach's words get tired a little bit on the players. You know what I'm saying? You're saying the same things. You got to have a player, and hopefully a couple of players that can really speak to the players in the players' language, but saying what the coach wants to say. Now, maybe that guy is Taj Gibson.
I was just about to that.
Right? So that could be Taj Gibson. I think that's where it has to start. That's why I think Taj Gibson is probably going to be around. His contract may not be the same, but he's probably going to be around because he knows what Thibs brings.
Okay, so, and you're going to kill me for saying this because I know people, we're getting around to it, right? Taj Gibson's your mouth, but hear me out, because I agree with you 1,000%. It's like the army, right? You know, you have they bring in some guys are so-called bad apples and may influencer, and then the army, they bring in a general or whatever, I don't know, whatever, to come and discipline that person in front of everybody, right? Yeah, there's a shake up or ship out, right? He can't be that bad apple taking that power of discipline. Who are the players the Knicks have to get rid of that may be, I would say bad apples, because none of these guys are bad human beings, but they may not fit the system. They may be that one dissenting ear that might cause a discord between young players and new players coming in, right? Because everybody, look, like you said, I agree with you. Udonis Haslem may not play 1 minute on the floor, but when he talks, everybody listens because they know that this guy he is the mouthpiece, right? And he's been on the floor, right? And then you have a guy like Jimmy Butler who also embodies that. There is a hierarchy, which is beautiful in basketball, right? What players do you have to get rid of on the Knicks to allow that to happen?
I don't know, because I don't know how any of them is going to respond to Tom.
You see, guys, I knew someone was going to say it. I knew you were going to say this. Gregory Castillo, thank you. Because I knew Sim was not going to answer the question. I knew it because look, because all right, this is gonna be.
So who do you think they got to get rid of? Who do you think they got to get rid of?
I think I got to get rid of Elfrid Payton. That's one guy. I think that Elfrid Payton time, and just from his numbers. And I'm trying to come from as a stat-based stance as possible. Elfrid Payton's numbers, like reported on one of your shows, I believe, early this year, not last year, early this year. We were talking about it, and essentially, Elfrid Payton passed the ball to Julius Randle like 26%. The next person, I forgot what it was like only 13%.
The next person was RJ at 12%.
12%, right? And
that was a stat that I read from an article someplace.
Right. And that's not good. In terms of, if you're a point guard, right, you're supposed to be getting guys in space. And it's not necessarily that.
The only thing I would say that I agree, it's not good. Elfrid Payton is a point guard. He's got to learn how to spread the ball around. Right. The only thing I would say to that is because RJ also had a 23.8% usage rate, second on the team. Mm-hmm. Right. So when you look at players like, people don't want Julius Randle creating his own shot.
Right.
So whoever the point guard is, when you talk about Julius Randle, they're probably going to pass the ball more to Julius Randle than to RJ, because RJ is going to be able to handle the ball himself. So he doesn't need Elfrid Payton to really pass him the ball because he's going to be kind of a creator at sometimes or getting his own shot. So someone like Julius Randle, Bobby Portis, maybe, you know, if Bobby Portis on the team, which Bobby Portis put out something to say he wants to stay on the team.
Yep.
But, you know, guys like that, the point guard is going to pass to those guys more naturally.
However, I agree with you. But then why is it that Frank's numbers? Now, Frank did his highest percentage did go to Julius Randle. I forgot what it was, but the gap was a lot more smaller with Julius Randle and the next person. It might have been RJ who's the next, but I can't remember. Right? So why is it that Frank, who everybody wants to kill Frank, but Frank was able to facilitate it and get it to his distribution was a little bit more even than Elfrid
Payton. And that's why Elfrid Payton, you know, he's got to, you know, that's something that he's going to have to, if he's not going to be on the team, he's going to get waived. But I think he's going to get waived. You know what I mean?
Is this from one of your insiders? Do you still have your insiders? No. I'm joking, guys. Before, you know, I'm not going to try to.
But I think he's going to get waived. You know, if they're going to try to make room for a point guard or try to do anything in free agency, you can't keep him around because you got to waive him. You got to waive him by whatever the date is, October. I don't know if that date's changed now, but whatever that date is, you got to waive him. You got to waive him, Bobby Portis, Taj Gibson, Wayne Ellington. You got to waive all those guys.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say this about Randle.
But that's the financial part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's not the fit-in part. The financial part of it, you got to waive those guys.
So on that note, right, Randle does have an extra year, and that's pretty valuable, right? So he has the second year, but then he has a team option, right? So
team option, yeah.
That is a trade piece. And Tom Thibodeau, obviously, it's not smart. Like Phil Jackson, you know, this guy would talk bad about players that could have been trade-based. Like, you idiot, you don't talk down your players if you're trying to trade them. Do you feel like what Tom Thibodeau's been saying about Julius Randle is hogwash? You think it's just kind of him? Because you guys mentioned on your other show, by the way, if you haven't seen it, Sim had a show, I believe it was it yesterday? No, it wasn't yesterday. It was a coach's corner. I think you're talking about Julius Randle and how they're utilizing him.
Right.
I wanted to ask this question. Looking at Tom Thibodeau's, you know, coaching experience, is there a player that we've seen that you would say he can mold like Julius Randle? Obviously, you have who's a big man who used to have the fake hair that came from the Jazz?
Carlos Boozer. I think he's probably the closest
to Carlos Boozer.
Right. I think he's probably the closest. You know, as I was breaking down that film, I didn't notice it as much during the season, right? Because you pay attention to so much stuff. But there was so much that Randle did from that elbow area that I think kind of went overlooked by a lot of people. And I think Tom Thibodeau is going to use him there. And I'm not just talking about him being able to like going to the basket, but even the way sometimes he screened for people so that they could get open into the basket. He can set some better screens, but his body was so big, it was a screen nonetheless. Right. And he would, you know, he likes to slip the screen. He doesn't hold the screen. He likes to slip the screen because he wants to get the ball. Right. But it opened up room in the lane, just setting those screens at that foul line area for Frank to get inside, RJ Barrett to get inside, guys to get inside and then create for other people. Those screens were effective. And then his passing from that area, you know, to guys slashing to the basket. You know, when I was looking, I was like, geez, you know, Tom Thibodeau might really like this. Now, the thing is, you know, sometimes, you know, like his stance isn't always strong, and he's got a strong body, so people are not really taking it from him. But his stance, it just doesn't look the way that you want it to look a lot of times. Now, he was successful making
triple threat stance. You talking about like triple threat stance, like when he's
like getting the ball there, and sometimes like some of the passes seemed like he was like on 1 foot or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you know his stance could be a little strong. Can Tom Thibodeau work with him on it? I don't know, but he had some, you know, a lot of good plays from that elbow area. And you know, we talked about when Tom Thibodeau was first hired, right? We were like, who's the player? Tom Thibodeau likes to have people at that elbow. Who's the player that's going to be able to do some things at the elbow? at least sometimes. It wasn't going to be Mitch because Mitch, not strong enough to handle the ball there.
Nope.
And probably doesn't have the IQ at this point in his career to make those plays. Taj Gibson maybe, but I think Julius Randle could be one that, and I'm not saying you're going to run it through him like you did Joakim Noah, but, could be a threat from that area.
But you also did say you wanted to take more corner threes, which I believe, at least from the Pelicans, I believe, so that was only year with the Pelicans. I believe he shot like 36% from one of the corners. I believe it was a left corner, I remember. I'm not sure what he shot for the Knicks, but you probably know what he shot for the Knicks from the corner because you did break that down.
Yeah, it wasn't the thing. It wasn't, I don't know. I think it was 17 for 41 or something like that. Right. But when I look at, a lot of those corner threes, and Tom Thibodeau is going to, I think, run some sets where those corner threes are open. And the Knicks used them in that corner three a lot last year. Not to shoot the corner three. It wasn't always to shoot the corner three. Sometimes it was just to spread the floor for somebody else to make a play. Right. But a lot of times he ended up, getting a cross-court pass from somebody, and he would be open from that corner three. I think in the clips, I had Dennis Smith Jr. penetrated and found him in the corner. R.J. Barrett found him a couple of times. Alfred Payton found him a couple of times in that corner. He's been working on the corner three in the offseason. Obviously that's the offseason, but, you got to be able to do it in the game. He's been working on that corner three.
That's what Thibodeau said. He want more corner threes, man. And that is as you've seen, it's a very vital. It's the shortest distance to the basket from the three-point line. And you've seen the Lakers. KCP Kuzma hit like 3 threes. At least 2 or maybe all 3 of them were contested where there's a hand in his face and he was making clutch shots, tough shots. So that corner three is important. I just hope Tom Thibodeau is taking this in. I think one thing with Randle is that he has to improve his defense. I don't know if it's eating habits, what it is. Like you say, he plays heavy. And there's one thing, if you can't play on the perimeter, it's understandable if you're a 4 or 5 and you're not that type of player. But I've seen times he's been dominated down low. You go back to that Celtics game, how many times you saw after Kemba Walker just kept calling the pick and roll, would drive into Randle and knew that Randle was not stout defensively in terms of just putting his body up and using the length versus Randle would jump into a driving player. I saw Kemba get maybe 2 or 3 fouls like that easily and abuse Randle. So to me, it's nice that you're working out, doing all this stuff, getting your muscles up, but endurance, body balance, stance, and just defensive discipline. You don't have to be great at
right there. That body balance. Balance is I think something that somebody needs to work on with is really that body balance. And I think that's important. I think that's important for him. Now, I know Tom Thibodeau was saying that, he likes the fact that, he came early before they were in the bubble and worked with him. He's in shape, said that, he's a pro's pro, this, and that, and the other thing. It's got to translate. It's got to translate to the team. You know what I'm saying? I think, it's got to translate to everybody else, and Tom Thibodeau's voice has to get through to him.
So does that mean
we'll see what kind of relationship they have? I think, like I said before, I've always said, I think with Julius Randle, it's either going to be their relationship does not work or it's going to work. I don't see anything in between. It's either not going to work or Julius Randle's going to have a heck of a season under Tom Thibodeau. And
does that mean that Julius Randle comes off the court if he does not perform defensively, even if he's putting up numbers offensively?
I think so. From what I understand from Tom Thibodeau, I think so. But also, that also comes down to is anybody else scoring?
That's also true.
Because if you're playing and your top player is not playing defense, but nobody else is scoring, as a coach, it's like, okay, what the heck do I do now?
Right.
I think early in the season, you send the message early. You're not playing defense. Okay, you know what? The first time he's not playing defense, you snatch him out, sit his ass down. You know what I'm saying? And sit him down for a long period. Do it early in the season and see how he responds. Now, if he responds and comes out and plays defense, then he's going to respond to Tom Thibodeau. If he pouts and gets mad and still doesn't do it, then you know he's got to go. I think you can test it out real early in the season.
And to Bodega Wi-Fi's point, that I think I agree with you in the fact that what you're talking about is real coaching. And I will say it's for Randle, this is the first time he's getting real coaching, right? So, you know, I give him at least that leeway to be like, all right, he hasn't gotten proper coaching, even though I think there's certain aspects of his game they could improve without coaching. But I agree with you. And I think that was one failure of Fizdale, Mike Williams last year was like, there is a philosophy I want on the court. And if you guys don't play to it, and the thing about Fizdale would preach it. So you're preaching this out to everybody else, but then your own players, you're not implementing it. So it falls on how I hear it. And when players know you're not implementing something, they can run all over you. A lot of these players, it's like wolves, right? Or let me not say wolves, like Huskies, right? Huskies are like the toughest dogs to train because if you're not stern and direct and resolute with them, they'll run all over you. They'll do whatever the hell they want. And they're smart. You know what I mean? But if you get them in line, they'll be the most obedient, disciplined dog you ever come across. And I think with a lot of these players, last year, eat what you kill, and you're taking out Frank for mistakes. Fair enough. But then Randle, even RJ, all these other players are making mistakes. And I would say Peyton was making mistakes, and you wouldn't take him out. You let him play, do whatever the hell they want. So I agree with you 1,000%, but we will see with Randle. I don't know if I see it now. I'll ask you one last question, right? And you've probably said this before. Speaking about culture, right? And people in the chat probably going crazy. Now, you may have a favorite that you want to draft, but who would be the perfect Tom Thibodeau draft player at number 8?
Just speaking about culture?
Perfect for culture. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
He'd be perfect. I think he'd be perfect.
I like a core, and I don't like the fact that people were influencing me because I watched the kid's tape, right? Usage rate wasn't that high. Efficiency wasn't that good. Free throw shooting was not good. The problem I run into with Isaac Okoro, right? His developmental path is going to mirror that of RJ's, right? So you're going because they're both RJ 6'8", Okoro 6'6". Okoro is not uber explosive. He's explosive. You call him explosive. Crash into the basket. So if he's playing off ball, you give him that slip pass, he's gonna destroy the basket. He's not a good shooter. Now he does have some chops where he's like, all right, I can see it, and I think he has a better form than RJ Barrett come out of college. But they're both on the same developmental path, meaning who's going to be the guy to play more ball to take the shot versus who's going to be the guy slash the basket, come to the basket. Who's going to be the guy holding the ball in his hands, and that guy has the ball in his hands. Is the other just going to be standing on perimeter and not really developing much? Now, I think a guy that he would like, I think my guy would be Vassell. I keep pronouncing that. Vassell to me now, Okoro, I think is if you have the proper coaching staff that allow you to mold a certain player, right? Okoro might be it, right? I think Okoro has a higher ceiling than Vassell. But Vassell, when you talk about complementing players, Vassell complements RJ the best, right? A guy who can play off of RJ, be that target man, screens, curls, whatever you want to call it, and RJ back and slowly come into his own shooting, but work to his strengths and slash to the basket. I think spacing would be beautiful between those two. One guy could play. I also think Vassell has a post-up game or a post-up game that could develop, right? You've seen little spurts at FSU. And if you develop Vassell more like how to develop Klay Thompson with the Warriors, because remember, Klay Thompson had that great of a post-up game until he really got to the Warriors and developed it. I think those two could be, I'm not saying they're going to be Dame Lillard and McCollum, but in terms of playing well with each other and two guys who I think sell out on defense, I think they'd be amazing. Those two. Okay. Now, Okoro,
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that all the way. I think that Okoro fits that whole relentless, nonstop type of culture, that people might be looking for. He's just relentless all over the floor, defensively. It's like his motor is super duper high. Now can he develop to become a shooter and a slasher? Or RJ? RJ can slash. And I think RJ can develop to be a shooter. He's not going to be a stand in the corner shooter. I think Okoro as you go into his career is going to end up being, if he ever can develop a jump shot, which he's got good, decent form. If he ever develops a jump shot, would be a guy that can slash to the basket and can shoot. Obviously, Vessel, however you say it, does that now. So I can see him fitting in with RJ Barrett perfectly. Yeah, Vessel. I can see him fitting in there perfectly.
And people in the chat, people were talking about Okoro this, like Okoro's a winner. FSU, that was a dominant team before. Like, they're a very good team, FSU, and they win their games a lot with defense. Like, Vassell was not, he had the fourth highest usage rate. He wasn't even a featured player like that on the team. You go watch those FSU games in Atlanta Hamilton, they defensively, one of the best teams. I mean, I can't remember their record, but they had a fairly good record. And I mean, they lost to some of the big teams. I believe they lost to Kentucky and some of the big teams, but FSU was that team. You know what I mean? So it's going to be tough. Okoro scares me because, again, people making the Kawhi comparisons. Kawhi is also a physical freak, right? The guy's hands are literally like bear mitts. You know what I mean? And then was he 6'9"? A guy went into the perfect system. And one thing that you run into a problem with is that when you have a guy like Okoro, right, and you're trying to, again, this comes down to culture. Sometimes certain players might take offense to it, like, oh, you working so hard on Okoro, like, why you not working hard on us? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying Knox would do it, but Knox might be like, oh, you build all this stuff around Okoro, you give him the leash or whatever. And he might not understand, all right, this coach is giving the leash, but Knox might say, I'm just using Knox's example, might be like, well, this organization didn't give me this attention when I was going through my growing pains, they, blah, blah, but they're giving it to Okoro. Versus when Kawhi was with the Spurs, they were already a winning organization, right? Same thing with, and even this guy complained. We look at the Nuggets. The Nuggets were an organization going to play, so they're able to draft a guy like MPJ and so develop him. And even he's getting pissed at how slow the development is. So that's the thing about is that you bring in a guy, I think that is easier. It might be easier culture-wise when you bring a guy who can really complement another key player's game, and you're not showing that so-called not prejudice, preference.
Right. Okay.
Okoro does have the potential.
Okoro, I feel like Tom Thibodeau and Okoro is like a perfect marriage, though.
It is. But look what happened with Butler. But he had a perfect marriage with Butler, and it fell apart once Derrick Rose came back. There was a power struggle between those two. Went over to Minnesota Timberwolves. You thought they got remarried after the divorce.
Right.
Didn't work.
Right.
I'm just saying, man, I think that he'd be better off getting Vassell. As much as I do like Okoro, I'm slowly growing to like Okoro. Now, I'll say this. The issue, though, if you get a guy like Okoro, you need a point guard. Because
that's
the spacing will struggle between those two. Now, I think the space will be a lot more easier, and that's why you don't need a great point guard. Not great, but a so-called higher tier point guard, whatever you want to call it, than what the Knicks have had if you have Vassell and RJ. If you bring in a guy like Okoro into this team with RJ Barrett, who is the point guard, whether draft or free agent, that you would want? I already have one in mind. Everyone might be seeing now, but who would you bring in? Whatever.
Okoro and Barrett?
Yeah, if you have Okoro and RJ.
So
I already have one in mind. But.
So you need a point guard. One, you're going to need a guy that can shoot it from three, right?
Yep.
Because those two guys are not going to be great shooters. We'll see what RJ Barrett is when he comes back, but they're not going to be great shooters. You're going to need someone who can shoot it from three. And you're going to need somebody who can facilitate.
Yep. Keep going. I already have it.
Who's that out there? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who do you have in mind?
You sure you don't have one?
Who do I have in mind? I mean, I still think the Knicks are going to throw some money at Fred VanVleet. I think they're going to try to get Fred VanVleet. If they don't make any trades, I think that they may not try to give him $22 million, but they're going to make an offer to him. I think. I think they're going to make an offer to him. But Fred VanVleet, he can facilitate. He can shoot. Right?
Oh my gosh! I don't know why. I don't get it. As much as I like Fred VanVleet, He is not a guy. Who's a lead guard without unless you have another guard besides him. Now, obviously, if you gave, I don't think Okoro's that good on ball that you give him ball handling duties like that to play like a.
I gave ball handling duties.
Yeah, but Fred VanVleet, I think he does better with an athletic guard. Now, RJ Barrett I like, but RJ Barrett isn't the most fleet of foot. Like even Kyle Lowry. I know Kyle Lowry is older now, but Kyle Lowry as like a dog. You know, you don't. I mean, the ball in his hand, he's still dangerous. The guy that I'm thinking of now, I don't know what's gonna happen after this basketball season. The guy I was thinking of, stopgap guard, because next year is gonna be a great draft for guards, I believe. A guy, Goran Dragic. I know he had the foot injury. Goran Dragic does not get a good.
I don't see him leaving Miami.
You never know, because if Miami goes and says, "Hey, we want to bring in a guy like Giannis," you know what I mean? You probably don't have to give Dragic a big contract. Maybe Dragic wants to be like, "Hey, it's getting crowded here. I might need to go to another team." Maybe they're trying to bring Kendrick Nunn to be that type of guard, even though I don't think Kendrick Nunn is as good as a court awareness type of guard as Goran Dragic is. They might move on, man. He's a free agent. You know what I mean? You bring him to the Knicks. They try to build something. A guy who shot 36.7% from the three this past year, 44% from the field, 5.1 assists, 60.2 points. I'm just saying.
I mean, I've always liked Goran Dragic. First, I don't think he's leaving the Heat. I think he's going to take a discount, or I don't know if they have to give him a discount, but I don't think he's going to be, you know, in the market to get a huge contract. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to remain with the Heat. I think he's going to be with the Heat. I think they're going to continue to try to. I mean, look, Kendrick Nunn's not even playing.
No, Kendrick Nunn's playing. Now he's playing. Kendrick Nunn's playing. Kendrick Nunn had a good game
because Goran Dragic was hurt.
Yes, so he was playing because Goran Dragic was hurt, but he was playing in the regular season. Look,
Right.
you know, in the playoffs they kind of shrink the lineup. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is one thing, but again, but people say, look, Goran Dragic is 34 now, but again, for a guy who's not, Goran Dragic is not a guy who necessarily plays off of speed. He's in CP3 mode where they play off of guile, catch you off balance, court awareness, which the Knicks need. Everybody wants to draft the Kara Lewis. I'm scouting Kara Lewis now. Kara Lewis ain't that guard unless you get another guard that he could play under and grow. The same thing, we talk about Killian Hayes. Go watch Killian Hayes tape. Killian Hayes calls a pick and roll probably 90% of the time to create that space. Killian Hayes is going to need development as well. So, and again, we've talked about this. Frank Ntilikina, DJ, all these guys, they can sit there and talk about, I learned all this stuff during the summer. And every year in the middle of the season, we're like, damn, I wish we had a Jarrett Jack. I wish we had this veteran point guard to come and lead these guys. You know what I mean? Everyone likes Fred VanVleet. I like Fred VanVleet, but he's a better off-ball guard than he is a lead guard. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think Fred VanVleet is that type of guy. You could say trade for who was the guy who went to the Indiana Pacers from the Bucks?
Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon. Would you trade for Brogdon? Would you trade for a guy like that? Indiana Pacers who are in a state of flux right now, right? Would you trade for a guy like Brogdon, who the Bucks?
How much is he making?
Brogdon?
25 million? 20 million a year? I think he got a contract like, you know, something like that.
Of course, they show me hockey. Brogdon, what the hell, Brogdon? Malcolm Brogdon. 85 million.
How much he's making?
He's making, so for this right now, he's making 20. He's gonna make another 20.7 next year, another 21.7 next year, then 22.6 in 2022, 2023.
Right. So Malcolm Brogdon got that contract. You know, leaving the Bucks, they didn't really get deep in the playoffs. They didn't win a championship. I mean, Fred VanVleet could get the money he's looking for.
Oh my gosh!
You know, when you look at it, he's been there. What is he? 26 years old. I think, I really think that Tom Thibodeau is going to look forward to getting a point guard that is around that 26, 27-year-old age. If he can't get a Chris Paul, I think he's going to get a point guard that's been around. So, like I see Andy's talking about Drew Holiday in the Heat. He could be a guy that Tom Thibodeau looks at and says, hey, let's try to make a move for him. I think. I think he's going to look for a guy like that, a guy that has some experience in the league, but a guy that can be around a while. You know, that could be around for a few years while another young point guard is developing. To do what is just my opinion, to do what Tom Thibodeau I think wants to do, the culture he wants to set, you got to have. I think you got to have a point guard that's going to help you set it. So I think they're looking. I really do think they're going to look to get a veteran type of guy, you know, a guy, either a veteran type of guy or a guy that they believe can be a leader on the floor and help them set a culture. And I don't know, I don't know if they're going to be looking at a stop. I guess if you're looking at someone like a Chris Paul, then that's going to be a stopgap, right? But I think they're going to be saying, yeah, you're a stopgap, but this is the guy that we're grooming for the future, and we want you to be here to groom him for the future. I think it's going to be, they're probably looking for that kind of a situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not going to play.
What are they willing to spend for? I don't know. I honestly think that Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau and those guys already got a lot of intel on whoever it is that they're going to try to get for point guard, and we just don't know about it.
Oh yeah, we don't know anything. I mean, obviously now I love how Knicks Twitter or Knicks media is getting killed, where now there's a list of guys that you can trust. Only a certain list of guys that you can trust that write, because everyone else is just creating fake rumors and that stuff. So I agree. I think that right now they're not saying much, which is good for them, but it will be interesting going forward to see who the hell they pick up, because this is vital.
Yeah, and like I keep saying, the thing with Chris Paul is he makes so much money. If the Knicks do trade for Chris Paul, then they almost don't have any choice but to include Julius Randle in the trade, because then they still have some money, which to me, it's just my opinion. I think that Chris Paul would be great for Julius Randle.
Right.
With Tom Thibodeau's, preaching his philosophy and his standards of play, and Chris Paul can give that out to everyone else. And I think it's exactly what Julius Randle needs to be successful. But I mean, there's ways that you can make the trade without including Julius Randle. But if you want to have some money to try to fill out your team in free agency, then they're probably going to include Julius Randle. You know what I'm saying? Which to me almost, I don't want to say it defeats the purpose, but if they're looking to be a playoff team, now if you get an Obi Toppin in the draft, then it changes, right? Because now, okay, Obi Toppin does what Julius Randle could do, except Obi Toppin can shoot from the three. He can run a pick and roll, probably sets better screens. You trade Julius Randle, now you still got a power forward, and you got your point guard. You got RJ Barrett, and then you can fill out with some, you got some money to fill out other areas. You know what I mean? But if you trick, this is what's going to happen, though, right? As we've been reading, I know you don't want to hear it. As we've been reading, right? I don't want to say it's going to happen, but this is what could happen, as we've read in other places. If the Knicks do include Julius Randle to trade for Chris Paul, then it's probably going to be Carmelo Anthony or Marcus Morris.
Oh my gosh!
Hold up! I said or Marcus Morris. Maybe Marcus Morris comes and takes that 4th spot, but it could be Melo that comes and takes that 4th spot.
No, Melo, if you leave the Blazers, where you finally found a proper basketball home, to come back to the Knicks, and they allow him back on the Knicks, I know we have a new regime. Let it just start anew. Melo, I know that's everybody's boy. Still, boy can't play any defense. He can shoot. I guess he's a proper role player, especially in the corner. I'm good on Melo. Melo, God bless you.
I'm just saying that it's possible that it could happen, right? I know people are going to talk about
Sim definitely knows, man. Sim knows something. Sim knows something about Melo train, man.
I know people are talking about, people want to talk about Christian Wood and this and that, but you're not going to want to pay a lot of money to Christian Wood, because I don't think Christian Wood is going to pan out the way that people think, right? The reason why Melo would be a guy that would be there is because he's going to be cheap. right? You probably get him for the veterans minimum, and you already know that Melo wants to retire Nick.
Oh my! For what? Retired Nugget. You weren't drafted by us. This is
You
trash.
already know he wants to retire Nick.
When they like Melo highlights and they started with that coming home crap, it's like dogs coming home to. You weren't drafted by the Knicks. Coming home, you were in New York for like 2 seconds. Michael Jordan was born in Brooklyn. He don't claim Brooklyn. Come on, man. Like,
it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than Jordan. Jordan was born in Brooklyn and then raised in North Carolina. And Melo moved from Brooklyn when he was like 12.
It don't matter. Yo, I've never heard Melo be like, yo, shout out to Fort Greene, man. Shout out to Canarsie. Shout out to Soundview. Man, you're from B-more. You're a B. You say do, whatever. However they talk about B-more.
Look. He's lived more of his life in New York than he has in Baltimore.
He developed his formative wire type years in Baltimore where he became tough playing on the court. You're not from New York, Melo. Melo, you were one of my favorite offensive talents. Stay with the Blazers. You played perfectly with the Blazers. Why come to the Knicks where you might not get as many minutes as you would and be a cog on that team as you are?
Why? I'm gonna tell you why. First of all, he probably wants to stay in Portland. First, that's probably his first thing. He wants to stay in Portland, right? But also, Portland's not winning it anytime soon.
And the Knicks are?
No, the Knicks aren't winning it anytime soon. But if I'm a player, I'm like, maybe I just go.
No, you're making now.
I'm not winning the championship with them. Maybe I just go home. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm just saying, if they trade Julius Randle, what options are going to be out there? There's going to be a viable option. Chris Paul, Melo, Leon Rose. I think that's going to be a viable option. Christian Wood, I just don't believe in it. I'm sorry, people. People want to talk about Christian Wood. I just don't believe in Christian Wood. You know what I'm saying? Andy said, watch the Melo interview.
Yes.
I know he's talking about, all the stuff with the Knicks. And of course he wants to, he says he prays that he can stay in Portland. In the end, I think he's going to retire Nick. Whenever it's done, he's going to retire Nick. But I'm just saying, if they end up trading Julius Randle, it's going to have to be some viable options there at the 4, right? Marcus Morris could be one. Melo could be one. Who else is out there at the 4? Bertans, he's more than 5, right?
But I mean, if you're gonna play too big, especially if one can space the floor out, you can use him.
He's I think so. I mean, this going to be you're going to have to now get a starting 4 if you trade Julius Randle.
You could grab Jalen Smith from Maryland. If Jalen Smith falls, guys, mark my words. Jalen Smith from Maryland might be the real deal in terms of a guy who can play defense, can run the 5, can play a big 4, can space the floor, can shoot the ball, can drive to the basket, can play the pick and roll. Jalen Smith, if this guy falls to 27, and you're talking about Tom Thibodeau, who wants that 4, and he also gained some muscle. He took his condition a lot seriously this past year before it closed down. Jalen Smith can ball. Mark my words. I don't know where he's going to go to, unless he goes to a place that's just god-awful, terrible, like the Pistons. Wherever he goes, if he's available at 27, the Knicks better pounce on it. You're not going to find – I know it was so about Terrell Terry and that stuff. You're not going to find a point guard who's going to lead this team like that. Now, Terrell Terry coming in, I wouldn't mind drafting him. But Jalen Smith is that guy. If he falls somehow, I know because I've seen it. Jay McDaniels has fallen, but I've seen him go at, they say 15. I've seen Carol Lewis. He might go from 15 to 20. No one knows where the draft is going to be, where he's going to be. I'm not saying Jalen Smith is going to be that crazy, but I think Jalen Smith, in terms of one of these new age 4s that can run the floor and do that stuff, he shoots the ball, I believe, better than Daniel Otero, whatever. So I'm just saying, man, Jalen Smith would be legit as that 4 could shoot. I think that this season, because what we're talking about with CP3 and Melo, I know you're not saying this, it's not coming out of your mouth, but your spirit is saying, I want that old thing back that we could have had between these two guys, because the magic of New York going crazy when CP3 catches somebody and then dips it off to Melo in the corner and Melo hits one of those threes. Oh, man. Look, that was great 7 years ago. It ain't coming back. We got to think about the future, man. And
I'm not saying they wouldn't be thinking about the future. I'm just saying that I think they would say we need a starting power forward, and Melo would be a viable option, especially if his buddy CP3 is there and Leon Rose is there. I think it would be he would be a viable option, and they would look that way, and I think Melo would listen. That's just what I think, and because I think that Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose, I think, and I don't know if it's the right philosophy or not, but I think they're gonna try to toe that line again, but maybe they do it in a different way of trying to put together a team that can make the playoffs, even if it's an 8th seed, but still develop the young guys. I think that's what they're going to try to do. I think they're shooting for the playoffs. I don't have a problem with them shooting for the playoffs. It's how many times you're going to try to dip it? How many times you're going to try to dip into that draft and keep thinking we're going to get a star, get this, get a star, get this? I think you got to try to make the playoffs and try to start building something. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so then why not take the Toronto Raptors approach, right? Toronto Raptors, even the Heat approach. Look how many key guys. I know Tyler Hero was drafted fairly high in the first round, but look at how many. And Butler was a big fish, but they got guys like Kendrick Nunn, I believe, undrafted. Duncan Robinson, undrafted or second round. They got a few guys. I mean, the Raptors got a bunch of guys. I think Butcher is going to be really good in the next 2-3 years. A guy who's going to develop his shot, drive him to the basket when he's tall, lanky, athletic dudes. Same thing with your boy. I know Pascal Siakam kind of flubbed in the playoffs, but again, those late first round picks is nothing to sneeze at. You can everyone on their team, every top team has these players. Like, where the hell did he come from? And you find out it was through good scouting and proper drafting to get these players. I don't want to give up now. Obviously, if you could get a top notch guy, yes, you give up the late first rounders to get him. But if it's to try to get, I don't know. I just think that there's some value in these first rounders, especially if you could flip them into something next year where it's going to be uber stacked.
But I don't think you give that up, because you got 7 first round picks over the next 3 years or something like that. I don't think they're giving that up if they end up. If it's a player like the only player that you're really trading anything for, if they do it, would be Chris Paul, right? Anyone else that they sign, if they trade Julius Randle, they sign somebody for that 4 spot, you're signing that player into cap space. So you're not giving up any assets for that person besides money. You know what I'm saying? And then you still got all these draft picks. Me personally, for Chris Paul, I'm not trying to give up any draft picks.
Same here.
You know what I'm saying? He's 34 years old. He makes $85 million over the next 2 years. I don't want to give up any draft picks. I understand what he would bring to the team, and I'm okay with that. But I don't want to give up any draft pick. And this is the thing. I wouldn't get if I was in Leon Rose's seat. I would not get Chris Paul, because when I spoke to OKC, I would say no draft picks, no Kevin Knox, no Frank Ntilikina.
You wouldn't give up Kevin Knox for CP3,
huh?
You wouldn't give up Kevin Knox for CP3.
I don't want to give up any young assets that could one day be part of the team for a guy that's going to be a stopgap. And I know he's going to be a stopgap. I understand what he would bring, but in 3 years, 4 years, he's retired. Kevin Knox is still playing in the league and still has 12, 13 years to go in the league for the most part, right? Obviously, if I was trading for Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Knox would be on a plane, right? But, because Donovan Mitchell is young and got years left, you know what I'm saying? Chris Paul is, he's on the tail end of his career, and I understand what he might bring to the Chris Paul might come to the Knicks and suffer a hamstring and don't play for half the season or something like that,
True. But Chris Paul could pull the rabbit out of his hat where your team only has a 4% chance of getting to the playoffs. And
He could, but that's a big chance. And that's why I'm like, it's a big chance. That's why I'm like, I'll trade for him.
Hold on. Chris Paul
doing that. Giving up any young assets.
You giving Kevin Knox a higher probability of being a legit, I don't say star, but a really good player higher than Chris Paul coming to the Knicks his last 2 years and elevating that team to be at least a playoff contender where he's going to get guards.
Because the thing is, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. You know, you have to really look at the landscape of everything. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul is one option to get it done. I don't think it's the only option.
This guy Sim, he did. If you mention 2 players, he will 3 players. Don't ever mention these 3 players about trading them. Kevin Knox, Carmelo Anthony, and Julius Randle. Those are his ace.
No.
His ace
no,
boom.
No, hold up. Julius Randle is not, like Melo. That's my boy.
You see, Melo, yeah, of course we know that.
I like Kevin Knox. I'll trade Julius Randle. I don't have a problem with trading Julius Randle. I don't want to. Frank Ntilikina is my favorite player on the team. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to trade Frank. I love everything that Frank brings. Anytime someone talks about trading Frank, I'm like, that's dumb. I don't want to trade Frank. Trading Frank, I've got to be getting, a bona fide all-star. And I know Frank is not an all-star, and maybe he's not going to be an all-star, but I think what he brings to the team is really, really, truly, really valuable. You know what I'm saying? And you don't get it everywhere. To have a guy that can potentially one day be a lockdown defender, you don't get it everywhere. So, I'm not trying to trade Frank Ntilikina. You know what I mean? I think Kevin Knox has been in the league 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I think you owe him say, okay, we just brought in his coach from Kentucky.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's truly invest in some of these guys and not trade them for Chris Paul. That's why for Chris Paul, I don't want to trade any of these except for DSJ. I'm just not sold on DSJ.
Yeah, I'm not sold on DSJ either.
I'm just not sold on that. I would trade DSJ, but
this is the same Sim that did say
young assets. I don't want to move these young assets for Chris Paul. I would give up Julius Randle. I would give up, if I had to give up Dallas, one of the Dallas picks or something like that, and then like Elfrid Payton and Bobby Portis or something like that, to make the money match. I'd do that all day. Even though I would rather see Chris Paul and Julius Randle together, I understand why they would have to make the move, and I would probably do that and figure that I could find another power forward.
And this is what Sim does, man. I was trying to close out the show, and it turns into him giving these awful reasons to keep his boys. Julius Randle.
You talk about if you trade Julius Randle, Kevin Knox is going to be a 4 in the league. So now you say, okay, let's put
Kevin Knox. Man, I'd give up.
He's going to be a power. He's going to be a stretch power forward in this league.
Stretch who? Stretch what? What can he stretch
he's
out?
He's going to be a stretch 4 in this league. He is not going to be a power. He's not going to be a small.
Okay, put your word on it. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. I want you to put definite words. Kevin Knox will average what this season? A range. Give me a range.
I have no idea, but I will say this. And
he says he's going to be a great defender.
Within the next 2 seasons, Kevin Knox will shoot 40% from the 3-point line.
In the next 2 seasons. Everybody mark that down.
In the next 2 seasons, Kevin Knox shooting 40%. Let's say anywhere between 38 and 40% from the 3-point line.
You can give me a range. I'll even give you 36%. 36% to 40. Call it that.
Oh, okay. He might do 36% next year.
Okay. Because I need to see it from my young player. RJ Barrett, to me.
What did he shoot from the 3-point line this year?
We shot, 28? Kevin Knox? He shot lower than last year. Hold on. We're going to find this right now. Baby Kevin Knox. He shot 32.7%. So he shot 34% in the last year, 32.7% this year.
Yeah. And last year was all over the place, wild all over the place, no structure. You're gonna get him with some structure. Tom Thibodeau is gonna get him in that corner. He's gonna get a point guard. There's gonna be some open threes for him. Bomb. He's gonna knock him down. I'm telling you, Kevin Knox. Some areas I'm gonna do a thing with Kevin Knox. Some areas where I think you see Kevin Knox being used. The corner 3, I think he's gonna knock down the corner 3. I think you're going to see Kevin Knox being used in screen and roll, where he's the ball handler with Mitchell Robinson. I think you're gonna see that. Okay. Go look at some tape, bro. Go look at some tape. Kevin Knox did a good job of throwing oops to Mitchell Robinson this year.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hold. There's a difference. I did see Kevin Knox throw like long passes, like when they're running and it's
screen and roll.
Screen and roll.
You look at towards the end of the season.
All right.
You look at towards the end of the season. Kevin Knox ran a few screen and roll plays where he was the ball handler.
Okay. What else?
Right? And he would throw to Mitchell Robinson. I think you're going to see him being used that way this year sometimes under Tom Thibs.
Defense then. Let's talk about rebound defense then. Because you on your show, you were extolling, Kevin Knox averaged the most blocks per minute or something like that, or on the Knicks.
Well, I we grabbed it from I think it was New York Post where he was.
I believe you. I'm just
in the team behind Mitchell Robinson in block shots. He was second in the team behind Mitchell Robinson in block shots.
Right, and I think you said like per. I thought you said he was leading something per minute. I forgot what you did. I thought it was blocks, but
no. He was. Maybe someone else said that on the show, talking about it on the show. But he was second in the league behind Mitchell Robinson in block shots. Now people may try to laugh at the improvement, right? But the guys that he was guarding scored less this year than they did last year.
But they still scored higher on him than average. They did. We talked about it.
I don't know if they scored higher than average, but I would much rather have my players showing improvement.
Oh, of course.
This year, these small forwards were averaging 15 points per game on you. This year, they're averaging 12 points per game on you and shooting 42%, besides 46 or 47%.
Hold on. The difference wasn't that much. Don't cheat.
42% and 46%.
It was like 42 and 44. It was like 44 and 40. It wasn't that.
42. I'll take 42% over 44% all day long.
It was okay. It wasn't.
He showed improvement. He showed improvement. He showed improvement on staying on his man and blocking shots. He let some guys go baseline still. He's got to work on baseline, right? But there's not one player in the NBA that don't let guys go baseline. I can guarantee, right? He's got to learn how to cut that baseline off, right? He's gonna learn these things though. It's not like this is said and done. You know what I'm saying? He's the second year in the league. I got Kevin Knox the next 2-3 years shooting 40% from the 3-point line. Easy. Like I said, 38 to 40% from the 3-point line. Easy.
And that percentage of
the first half of this season, he was shooting 40%.
Okay.
He was shooting 40%. Then he hit his little stretches where he wasn't, he lost confidence. He wasn't hitting shots. You know what I'm saying? When his confidence is high and it's there, I think easy. He's going to knock it.
Think about Knox. He was getting more minutes than guys like Trier, who different positions, but we were saying Trier should have got more minutes. Knox was getting heavy minutes. He was getting relatively heavy minutes. He was getting 24 minutes here, and he'll put up like 5 points. I remember one game he put up like 3 points or 4 points off of like 24 minutes, and he had a few good looks, and they were open because I remember this year. I feel like this year they were flaring him a lot more, where there'll be a lot of action on one side. He flares out to the right, and he have no one on him, and he had the open shot, and he missed. Obviously, I understand confidence and stuff. The thing with Knox to me, I'm not looking for him to be averaging 20 points and stuff. I just feel like, look, you came to the NBA with certain strengths, which was, and granted, I give you the benefit that they have not run a lot of off-ball stuff for you, where they were getting you open in motion, right? Besides some flares and stuff that I did see, they allowed me to get open. I'll give you that benefit, but your defense got to be a lot better. I want that percentage. I want to see that the league average is higher than the field goal percentage against you. It has to be, especially at your position. At a 4, playing.
I don't think you can look at the league. I don't think you got to. I think you got to look at that position and not just the league percentage. I don't know what the percentages are, but I think you got to look at that position, the positions that he's guarding, and not just the league percentage all overall.
No, right. So if they could break it down, so threes are going to be tough. If you get stuck on the 3, it's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
4s though, I think you better be able, because a lot of times though, even with some of the percentages, it's not just, all right, you're on your man and you have a Kawhi Leonard abusing you and putting up on you. A lot of times, like you said, backdoor cuts, him just not being focused. Again, to me, the blocks aren't the biggest thing. I just care about when your guy shoots the ball, where are you? If there's a guy shooting the ball in your face, and it's not going to happen with the whole league, obviously you're going to have games here and there. Like we saw with Kuzma. There were 2-3 threes yesterday where the hand is in Kuzma's face, and he's hitting a shot. You can't do anything about it. You play good defense. But if you're not on your man and your guy is sent up to shoot and you're looking like, oh, crap, I'm supposed to be on so-and-so, that can't happen. That can't be happening on the floor.
I guarantee you he's going to get better. He's going to under Thibodeau and Kenny Payne there, he'll probably get better defensively exponentially.
All right. Well, look.
I really think so. And so we're talking about, you're talking about if you do trade Julius Randle to get Chris Paul, you say, okay, well, if you don't sign Carmelo, the reason why you don't trade Kevin Knox is because Kevin Knox is not going to be a 3, he's going to be a 4.
Oh, okay. And if you get a CP3, he's going to
put him in that 4 spot.
And CP3 is going to shape you up to be a better player, at least offensively. So if Kevin Knox is with CP3 this 1 year, we would get CP3 and Kevin Knox is getting those looks from CP3 and he's not putting up those numbers. Do you move on from Kevin Knox the next year?
If Kevin Knox is with CP3 this year and he's not putting up what numbers?
Efficiency. Like you said, 36% to 40% from the 3. He's not putting up, say, 43% from the field, 44% from the field. Because CP3 is going to get you open looks. You're going to be cutting. You're going to be moving. He's going to get you open looks. So Kevin Knox most of the game. There are a lot of parts of Kevin Knox's game that are lacking.
Well, what's his contract like?
Who? Kevin Knox?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not heavy, but how long is it?
Hold on. Let me just look. Kevin Knox got so Kevin Knox is a restricted free agent by he has a few more years. He has till 22-23. I believe he is he has to 22-23. You just asked how long his contract or how much?
Just how long? I know he makes like $9 million or something like that.
Yeah, he's making 22-23 is that's when his contract. That's last year of his contract.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, there's a lot of parts of his game that I'm just
I think you take Kevin Knox. I think all of your rookies, man. I think you take them through till you have that team option to their contract, and then you make a decision. Exactly. I think that's how you do your rookies. I'm saying you get them in, you sign them to a contract, you take them through till they get to the end of that contract, and then you make a decision. Is this guy going to be it or, not? Unless, of course, you have a trade that just really sets your franchise forward. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I just feel the Kevin Knox leash is I look at him and I get mad, man. It's just I don't care about the number of points that stuff, but sometimes just your focus on the court, man. But
I mean, give him some time, man. This is
the same guy who wanted Rich. This is you see how Simmons, he has certain people who he gives that leeway to. When Mitchell Robinson, I wish Isaiah was here. When Mitchell Robinson last year, Sim was as good as Mitchell Robinson showed in terms of potential. Sim was like, yo, we got to bring in a veteran to make him challenge for this, blah, blah. He was basically like, Mitchell Robinson can get the F out of here. But Kevin Knox.
I've never said he could get out of here. I said, I don't believe that he's a starting center. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't believe he's strong enough.
Oh, my Lord.
And just a lot of things that I didn't think that he did to be a starting center in the NBA. And I think last year proved it, too.
You get Kevin Knox anyway. You get Kevin Knox to Mitchell Robinson. I understand there are parts of his game.
I never said Kevin Knox has to be the starter. Now, if you say I'm going to put him in that 4 spot, but I never said last year you got to start Kevin Knox.
But if you trade for CP3, you say you have to start Kevin Knox. Now,
if you don't get another viable 4, then you say, okay, well, let's give him the chance. If he can't do it, then he don't do it.
So you got to give that same thing to Mitchell because Mitchell Robinson with a guy who pass a ball. Okay, all right.
He started, he ended up not starting because.
All right, I'm just making sure. Because Mitch.
Now, this year, I expect Mitchell Robinson should be able to be a viable starting center in the league. I think he should be getting stronger.
I
He
agree.
knows a little bit more about the NBA. I think he should be a viable starter in the league. And it's year 3. Kevin Knox is in year 3.
Yo, Sim,
Year 3.
who got compared? Sim is like Kaiser Sose, man. This guy knows how to. If he could get around every little thing he said. Because I remember, I wish Isaiah was here. Why isn't Isaiah here when I need him? This dude Sim was getting on Mitch like, yo, Mitch has not shown me enough. But the leeway, and it's a soft leeway, because I agree. Sim has never said that Mitchell Robinson, Knox should be starting unless that scenario put. But this guy Sim has put like Kevin Knox. We are all missing a train on Kevin Knox in terms of his potential. But Mitchell Robinson
always said that Mitchell Robinson has the potential. I just said I didn't think he should be the starting center. I didn't think he was ready, and I said there's nothing wrong with him not being a starting center because he's got some things he's got to develop to be there, right? Kevin Knox, I said that he needs to be in the G League because he lost all his confidence.
Hold up. See, Sim is not slick. I was saying that, and then Sim got on the train and tried to hijack that like that was his. I said that. And Sim wasn't a part of
I agree that, yeah, he should be in the G League because he lost his confidence. I said some players lose confidence in a shot. Some players lose confidence in some things they're doing on the court. But I felt like he lost confidence as a player. So he needed to go to the G League to regain some confidence as a player. I never said he should start. As a matter of fact, I even agreed that, times when he was getting 15, 20 minutes, he probably shouldn't have been getting those minutes. You know what I'm saying? I still think that he's got a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Now, Mitchell Robinson, I feel, should be the bona fide starting center next season, which is going to be year 3 for him.
You say, well, are you saying, okay,
year
it's more so because of the contract, right?
Huh?
You're saying it's more so because you have to decide whether you're going to pay him that contract, right? Like, yes, to show and prove.
I think next year, I feel like Mitchell Robinson has played enough games where he should understand and stay on his feet. He understands how to make his rotations. I've seen him miss rotations, but I mean, any player is going to miss rotations. The jump shot, of course, is still going to be an issue. We'll see if he comes along with that this year, but I think he should, hands down, be the starting center this year. I think he should have enough game experience now so that he doesn't get in foul trouble all the time. I mean, he's going to get in foul trouble sometimes. That's going to happen. He shouldn't get in foul trouble. Obviously, he's a great rim runner. He should have hopefully now learned how to stay on his feet instead of, going for every single block. Right. So he doesn't get into foul trouble. He's going to have to develop that, that mid-range jump shot. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't think that should negate him from starting because he's a great rim runner. Right. And so the fear of him running to the rim is going to open up the floor for other people anyway. So if you got your point guard and him at the top of the key, that's what was happening with RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson. It was running the pick and roll at the top of the key. RJ Barrett would come off, and then he found Julius Randle in the corner. Right?
Simmons like Franklin Richards from Marvel, bro. This guy knows how to create realities out of nothing. This is the same guy. Now he shows one dusty clip of RJ. Who's this guy? Julius Randle making one little crusty pass to RJ Barrett. When this dude has been.
I guarantee you, I'm already working on it. I guarantee you, I have about a 3 to 4 minute clip of RJ Barrett and Julius Randle making passes to one another for buckets.
All right. I hope you put up a short clip of that because I'm going to find 15 to 20 minutes of Julius Randle ignoring the F out of RJ Barrett.
Actually, you know what? I can put that up too, right? There's plenty of clips. I've been going through plenty of clips, but RJ Barrett's driving to the basket and Julius Randle has his hands in the air, right? And RJ Barrett goes up for the bucket. I had plenty of clips where RJ Barrett makes the pass to somebody else and then stands with his hands in the air. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's what RJ Barrett does. Everybody took that as that he's upset he's not getting the ball. If you pay attention, RJ Barrett to pass the ball around, or if he's wide open, he'll stand with his hands in the air, no matter who has the ball. Go look at him. He'll stand there. I don't care. David Fisdale could have had the ball on the sidelines. He got his hands up in the air. I want the ball.
I just remember that Philly game.
Telling
this guy Sim. Sim should have been a lawyer. I don't know. This guy knows how to bring. He will get the worst criminals out. This guy knows how to pick the most. Just for that crap, we know we were talking about the lack of perceived chemistry. Now, no one's saying that Julius Randle and RJ Barrett want to kill each other. No one's saying that. But there were rumblings, there's stuff about that. And we saw it on the court before people were talking about it. Like, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. I'm hoping it does work. But Julius Randle, I agree, Theo Flat. I don't think he has a worse basketball IQ, but his basketball IQ ain't up there. And it's going to come down. If Thibodeau can save that and make him more of a team player. Well, sometimes we think sometimes it's basketball IQ. Sometimes it's ego. Because sometimes you don't want to pass. It's like, I ain't going to pass this rookie, man. I'm so-and-so. Like, I got the contract. I'm not saying that's RJ Barrett, but it could have been. So we will see. Sim is putting money on Knox and RJ Barrett being legit.
Both of them. RJ Barrett clearly is already legit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Julius Randle, my bad. Julius Randle and Knox being legit this season. We will see. But we've been here for an hour and 30 minutes. This is going on to the battle of Julius Randle between NBK Legion. So
RJ and JR.
Sorry, what did you say?
So RJ and JR.
RJ, it's probably going to be RJ lasting. But, look, if you want to hold on to the JR spot, that's what we're putting it. Sim, everybody marked Sim's word. He said Kevin Knox going to shoot 36. I gave him the extra 36, the extra 2 percentage points. So 36 to 40% from the three. He's going to be a better defender.
In the next 2 years.
Are you going to put any points on that? You don't got to put crazy points because points are, it is what it is. At least 13, 14.
It's hard to say with his points. I think next year Kevin Knox averaged 10 points a game. He did that in his first season.
You got to give him more because if you're saying he's going to shoot 40, even just for next 2 years, which means he's going to have to even out. For that percentage, he's going to have to shoot probably a few shots because, I mean, I don't think he's going to come in and give you on a nightly basis, hit 2 out of 3 threes and then just come out. 2 out of 3 threes and make, 1 or 2 layups, put back ins and come out. I think he's going to take more shots. I think he's definitely going to take
more. I mean, he averaged 12 points his first season.
Right. So I'll give him.
I think he'll be back at 10 points this season.
And I'll say this just to hedge my bet. If Kevin Knox can show what he showed that summer league, if he could give me 75% of that, I'll agree that Kevin Knox could be good. Because that summer league, I don't know what steroids or allegedly, I'm joking, he didn't take steroids, but whatever he took, I don't know what the hell it was. He needs to go back to that because he looked like a totally different player. He was throwing elbows as going to the basket. I said, yo, he's there. Right. He was shooting threes on the dribble.
That was all, you look at all those players were college, players coming into college, second-year players, maybe some third-year players in there, probably felt a different confidence level playing against those guys.
Yeah, but James Sanchez, he shot 32% that summer league, but was the last, I know RJ Barrett, the last 2 games were really good. But you saw spurts from Kevin Knox that, all right, this dude looks different. And it's not just the efficiency. There's a style with which he took his points. He was a lot more aggressive. He has a lot more depth at the rim, which we've complained. Kevin Knox is linear going to the rim. He was not saying he was Euro stepping, but whenever he went to the basket, there was a plan. Whether it was, all right, I see a guy coming on, I'm going to throw it high off the top for that little kiss off the top that hits off and goes in. Or if I'm going to body him and throw the layup to shield him off from blocking me. That was a different Knox.
I just think that's that confidence level of, he's playing with younger guys in the summer league. Playing with some younger guys. You get into the league, you're playing with guys that are older, stronger, bigger. You got to figure that out. Some people, it takes a little bit of time to figure that out. But I think he's going to have a better grasp, understand the league a little bit better this year.
All right. Well, guys, this has been another episode for Clutch Points. I think are you going to do 3BL or Big Brother?
probably not tonight. I got a couple things lined up with the front stoop I got to do.
No, I'm sorry. I meant this week because I know the Giants.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, definitely this weekend. Yeah.
You Giants are playing the Cowboys. Ooh.
Yeah, if we want to have a chance, the NFC East is trash. If we want to have a chance,
this is not fair, man. NFC East is trash. Dak Prescott is losing games throwing 400, 500 yards with multiple TDs. And you guys have a chance at the playoffs. First of all, you guys need to win so you're not getting Trevor Lawrence. We need to just stop that. Look, the Jets are trash. They ruined Sam Darnold. We might as well go to Trevor Lawrence, so don't steal that from us. You stand with Daniel Jones, who I think is not that good, but you guys love them. So stay on that bandwagon. But, guys, obviously everybody here is already of NBK, but, again, some of you guys are not with Big Brother, Little Brother. Please subscribe to the channel so you can catch all this terrible Giants talk for an awful organization. I don't know why I'm talking trash because the Jets are even worse, but I'm just trying to say because we are garbage. The Jets are – I mean, if you want to talk about trash, we are – I don't even know what sewer material is. Like, we are septic tank material. But go subscribe to –
Was it Andy? Maybe it was Andy said there's a possibility next year that the Knicks will be the best team in the city.
No, Yankees. Yankees are doing
Yankees, yeah.
Yankees. I know they lost last night. You guys are – I don't know what's up with the Yankees, but you guys had it last night and then screwed it up. But, yeah, and my Mets, I mean, Steve Cohen is here to save the day. And we still have a decent team. We just don't have any pitching. But, yes, the Knicks might actually be the team with the highest upside. Let's say that.
Yeah, that's
true. Of any team. Because the Giants – I still think the Giants, it takes time because I think Gettleman's trying to build the trenches. Obviously, your O-line is – guys, O-lines take time. You could draft a whole bunch of good players. It takes time for O-line to gel. Like, I think Andrew Thomas is going to be good.
Hernandez, the youngest team in the league.
You said what?
I said, we're the youngest team in the league.
Youngest team. And I've seen it where O-lines would take, they look terrible the next year. I mean, look at Peyton Manning. I don't know if Peyton Manning his first year, I know he had a terrible first year. I don't know if his O-line was bad, but I'm assuming it wasn't that because he threw like almost 30 interceptions his rookie year. So, look, as long as your GM is drafting guys for your O-line, he's putting talent to that, just be a little bit patient. But they might get rid of him just because. And you guys have a bunch of guys injured. You know, if you get a guy like McKinney back, Xavier McKinney, your safety back, and you get a few good cornerbacks like Patrick Surtain or whatever his name is from Alabama.
Yeah.
And you look back, fire Gettleman, and they'd be like, oh, crap. We actually a good GM.
The defense has been, besides that San Francisco game, the defense has been okay.
Yes. Rams game. I was watching that Rams game. I was impressed. I was impressed.
You know, the defense has been okay. It's just Daniel Jones turns the ball over every game. You know,
that interception at the end, I thought he was going to run it. It was 2nd and 10, and he had room to run. Any comeback plays, look, if it's the red zone, it's tough for those type of plays, man. You usually want to throw it into the corners. If a guy gets open from a slant or a crossing route somewhere in the middle. And it was also a really good interception. I mean, the guy came back and hey, say what you want to say. But look, salute to 3BL, salute to NBK Front Stoop. Support all these channels, man. That Ain't Rap, Marquise Walker. You know, if you guys have any channels, I don't know anybody else. You know, Donald Cannon's not here, but he's a troll. So whatever he has, support him if he ever opens a channel. But salute to you, Sim. We'll probably be here on Thursday. Look, guys, there is no basketball talk besides the finals. So we're trying to find the best articles and things to talk about. I'm amazed you went on this long because, of course, anytime it comes to Kevin Knox and Carmelo Anthony, Sim is going to stay here and argue for hours. Those are his 8 goons. Those are his guys. Even though the game, the film doesn't support it, but whatever. Sim is going to he's going to put up NBA 2K clips showing, oh, yeah, Kevin Knox in this game. And you find out, Sim, you're running NBA 2K clips. This is fake. Kevin Knox. Salute to you guys. Salute to Sim, man. And we see you here next time. Thanks for being here. God bless. Peace.